This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Continuing our coverage of that tragic plane crash, one member on board of that plane, the late Dr. Richard Pender, served as Senior Vice President and Pastor of BFM Fellowship Church. Known affectionately as Pastor Rich, he led the BFM family with excellence, having dedicated his life to helping others see and come to the realization of their potential by serving God.
A gifted teacher of the Word and administrator, Pastor Richard was one of the founding directors of Bahamas Faith Ministries. He was also a founding trustee of the Third World Leadership Association and presbyter to the International Fellowship of Ministers. Dr. Pender served in Christian ministry for more than 30 years, distinguishing himself as a gifted teacher, motivational speaker, leadership consultant, lecturer, advisor to a number of ministries, coach, and author.
Considered a specialist in the ministry of helps, Dr. Pender co-authored the book, Mobilizing Human Resources, which has been used by a number of churches as a handbook. He also co-authored the books Redeemed and Justified and the book The Process of Purpose. Pastor Pender traveled throughout the Caribbean, Mexico, Brazil, and the United States, imparting his knowledge and wisdom in the area of the ministry of helps.
Now, he also co-hosted a local television talk show called Choices and was the host and co-producer of the radio show Music to Believe In. Pastor Pender was married to Sheena Pender. He leaves behind 2 children, Richard Pender Jr. and Talia Marie. Well, a family of 4 also died in that aviation tragedy which claimed the life of Bahamas Faith Ministries International President and founder Dr. Miles Monroe, and sadly we learn that our own Kendino Knowles lost his brother in that crash.
His brother LaVon Parks, youth pastor at BFM, and his family were victims of that fatal plane ride, and as Cleopatra Murphy tells us tonight, family and friends are mourning. All right, well, it looks like we'll come back to that story again. It's a very touching story as they are part of those who were on that flight. We do have reaction tonight from officials of the Met Office and the Flight Inspectorate on what may have caused that fatal crash. Janae Noel Ferguson discusses the issues with them tonight as she follows this aspect of this coverage.
Officials from the Civil Aviation and Meteorology Department weighing in on the fatal crash that claimed the lives of 9 passengers. Aviation Safety Inspector Dion Demerit confirming that the Learjet was registered in the United States and 2 persons from the department were sent to Grand Bahama to investigate.
Because it's a private aircraft, it's not required for us to take and look at it on a scheduled basis, but we have looked at this aircraft at least once in the last year. The accident, as it may have occurred in the Bahamas, may also impact other aircrafts operating around the world based upon what our findings may be. So everyone is always very anxious to take and get some idea as to what is the cause of the accident.
Meanwhile, officials from the Department of Meteorology detailed Sunday's weather conditions, explaining to ZNS News that although weather warnings are communicated to air traffic controllers and then to pilots, it would still be up to the pilot or those passengers involved to make the final decision to fly.
Yes, the pilot would perhaps make the decision as to what he would do in that kind of situation. Given his ability, I guess, given the aircraft and other parameters. So certainly that decision will be based upon them.
On Sunday, Grand Bahama experienced a downpour of rain, and Chief Climatological Officer Michael Stubbs says it might have impacted visibility for pilots.
So certainly, yes, it would have been a hindrance as far as visibility is concerned. That is always a concern. There may have been 1 or 2 flights headed for Grand Bahama but turned back. That's what I heard. It's unofficial. I yet to confirm it.
He advised persons to pay close attention to all weather alerts.
There have been occasions where, in my humble opinion, the weather forecasts or warnings may not have been taken seriously. Certainly, we want persons to really not take matters into their own hand. If there is some kind of weather condition that may perhaps presents a challenge, we wanted to take the necessary action. In fact,
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Now, news of Sunday's plane crash, which resulted in the deaths of 9 people, including Pastor Myles Munroe and his wife, have not only rocked the nation but the world. News outlets from around the world like CNN, CBS, Forbes, ABC, The Washington Post, and Fox News have all been reporting on the tragedy since last evening. RCS Gatterly has that.
Jet crash in Bahamas kills 9. Prominent Pastor Myles Munroe among the dead. Ministry of prominent Bahamas pastor to continue after fatal plane crash. Minister among 9 dead in Bahamas plane crash are all headlines that have topped various news agencies ever since that tragedy took place late Saturday afternoon. Given the prominence of the victims on board and the nature of the crash, it has garnered international attention, with eyes on the Bahamas yet again. Not long after the crash, photos along with misinformation began surfacing on social media. In a voice note, a woman claimed that Dr. Munroe could not be dead as she delivered room service to him a few minutes prior to the incident. Another one of a man claiming to be an eyewitness goes into graphic detail of the plane crash. Unfortunately, it did not end there, as Fox News reported that Dr. Munroe's daughter was also in the plane at the time, and that's not true. Numerous calls have even been made to our newsroom from international agencies requesting more information and footage on that fatal crash. It's clear that the impact of Dr. Munroe's death is being felt globally as the religious scholars' reach is far beyond the Bahamas. C.S. Scatterly, ZNS Network News.
All right, we're going to go back to where we talked a little bit earlier about LaVon Parks. It's a devastating story, not only for that family, but also our ZNS family as well.
Yeah, there was a family of 3, a husband, wife, and their child. And sadly for us here at ZNS, our colleague Candino Knowles affected. LaVon Parks was his brother. We spoke with the family today.
Family and friends are in mourning after 34-year-old LaVon Parks, his wife Riddell, who was pregnant, and their 5-year-old son Johannan perished in that ill-fated flight to Grand Bahama Sunday. Parks was one of 8 siblings and the stepbrother of ZNS News anchor Candino Knowles, who broke down as he talked about the unexpected death.
If you had asked me if I thought that I'd be saying bye to my family so soon, I could never imagine that.
Parks was not scheduled to travel to Grand Bahama, but upon the request of Dr. Myles Munroe, he went along. Knowles says the family is torn up, and what makes it worse, the entire family was wiped out. He says, however, there is some consolation for them.
LaVon and Riddell, they were living their purpose. I mean, LaVon was always into music. I mean, I grew up watching LaVon grow as an artist, which was his first love. He immersed himself in that. He created Dunama Sounds, and he created some really great music that we've been listening to all day. Longtime friend Carlos Reed struggled to gain composure as he tried to make sense of the deaths of all on board.
I'm struggling with this, and I'm asking God, why? You know, people say that you shouldn't question God, but I gotta be real, man. I don't have the answers. I don't understand this.
Also mourning Parks' death is good friend DJ Counselor, who says he talked to him on Saturday. It is a nightmare he says he is hoping to wake up from.
Manifest, you know, that he's just moving into himself as, you know, a contribution as an artist, as wife, as a poet. And there's so many lives they were touching. Is such a promising future, and just to lose your entire lineage. Baby, wife is pregnant. You know, and it's just rough.
The youth pastor's family says this is a difficult ordeal, but in the midst of this tragedy, the support of well-wishers is helping them to process the loss. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Siaska Adderley. Beginning tomorrow, the Bahamas Institute of Chartered Accountants will hold its annual Accountants Week at the Melia Nassau Beach Resort. The first day will be dedicated solely to VAT education, with seminars conducted by the Ministry of Finance's VAT unit. The week of events will culminate with a fun run, walk, push this Saturday at 6 a.m. at the Western Esplanade. BICA is the regulatory body for the country's accounting profession, with 500 members and over 300 licensees. In other business news, Bahama Land Investments Limited is looking to purchase Port Lucaya. Peter Hunt expressed confidence in Grand Bahama's rebounding economy. They remain committed to the purchase and transformation of Port Lucaya Marketplace as part of the island's continued growth and development. And in international news, U.S. President Barack Obama says open net access should be seen as a basic right. He said he supported net neutrality, which means all data travels on cables with the same priority. There should be no paid prioritization system that slows services if they did not pay a fee. This has been your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm C.S. Scatterley.
Tragedy continued last night as the country's 101st murder was recorded on Seymour Street in Yellow Elder Gardens.
Police say a man was in his yard when he was accosted by an armed gunman. Jared Higgs was at the scene as police started their investigation.
Sometime around 9 p.m. this evening, the police control received reports of gunshots being discharged here in the Lightburn Street area.
The country's latest homicide victim is 34-year-old Valentino Lightborn, also known as Yogi. Chief Superintendent Paul Rose says the man was doing laundry when he was attacked by a lone gunman.
What we do know is that a 34-year-old male had gone outside to hang out some clothing when a male accosted him from the Seymour Street area and discharged shots in his direction, hitting him to the stomach and leg, fatally injuring him.
Family members mourn near to the scene as they try to get a final look at their loved one. Police were unable to say how the gunman escaped and are requesting the public's assistance.
We appeal to anyone who may have information on this latest homicide to reach out to us.
This homicide brings the country's murder count to 101. Jared Higgs, ZNS Network News.
Urban renewal executives are expanding the small home repair program on Cat Island. Deputy Director of Urban Renewal 2.0 Grand Bahama, Michelle Rackley, says another group of homeowners have been added to the existing list of Cat Islanders who have had bathrooms built onto their homes in order to accommodate their families' needs.
Right now, the small home repairs is in progress and it's going very well. Like I said previously, most of the concerns here are proper bathroom, running water facilities, and we have contractors as we speak out there installing proper bathroom to seniors' homes. Since you were here last, we have ongoing. This month, we just added another 12 homes.